Welcome to Brand Talks. These talks are for new entrepreneurs and business owners who want to learn how to market in a way that lets you get your message out, your products and your services known by the world and still be profitable. We'll be talking through tough lessons learned to mindset to pure marketing strategy for your brand. In this series, I'll be asking my entrepreneur friends from all different fields these 5 questions. What's your business or company? How did you decide to start this journey, or how did you come across doing this? How long did it take to learn these skills? What people would you hire to help to allow you to focus solely on your mission, your craft, or your product, if you could? And if you woke up tomorrow and only had the knowledge of all these years, but no business, how would you do it to avoid all the costly mistakes and failures over again? Roll intro. So my name is CameronSchilling, and I am the owner of Brand Builders and the graphic design company called Royal Branding. And I'm also a sergeant in the Army National Guard. So how did I get started? What's my journey? It all started in middle school. I was given a camera by my family, and I wanted to be the next best wildlife photographer, the next, paparazzi. And I'm surprised I lived past that time period when I started, because I was so annoying. God, I was so annoying, like the most annoying. But it worked, so I'm still here, and that's okay. But that transitioned into high school, where I took college level courses, photography 1 and 2, and I wanted to do more. So the teacher that I was studying under said, hey, let's learn how to do visual communications, like advertisings and posters and sign, anything that's visual and selling something. And then the transition into also doing graphic design courses as well. And then I started my own photography company right out of high school, and did that in Nashville for quite some time while I interned under another photographer who was a photographer, a graphic designer, but also a web developer. And I said, I'll never do that. I don't have the focus for it. I can't do that. I don't know code. So be careful what you say, because you'll be like me and you'll end up going to the best coding school, Bethel Tech, and learning with Wazoo and becoming a full stack JavaScript web developer. Now try saying that 10 times fast, make your head hurt, but not as much as the coding did. So now I have the full, for what I do, the full spectrum of things, going from concept to design to putting it out for the world to see on all these platforms, not just creating a sign, but digitally on the web for everyone to see, because that's where everything's going now, is online. So it's been awesome to learn all those things and to learn under all these incredible people. And so I feel like I'm just getting started. So how long did it take me to learn all these skills? Well, it took me about 15 plus years. Now I'm 28, so you're like, oh my God, like you had to have been starting when you're in middle school. Exactly. I started in middle school, and I would learn from people everywhere I could. I would actually go with other photographer friends that I knew. And in my middle school, I actually had a teacher that was a photographer. So he actually would teach ISS, or in-school suspension, like detention. And I actually would go there into that classroom after school, and he would be working on something while the kids were doing their thing for, their suspension or whatever. He'd be over here working on a photography project, and he would actually use them as helpers for that, to where he was still, practicing cool things for him. So everybody thought I was always in trouble. So that was pretty fun. I just went and hung out with the ISS teacher all the time, and he had me learning photography stuff even then, and really looking at my portfolio and challenging me. So I grew in photography since, middle school, 7th, 8th grade, and then did the graphic design and learned Photoshop, Illustrator, Lightroom. I learned those 3 big ones in high school, and then used those. And then when I was interning and whatnot, I started learning with the photographer / graphic designer out of high school. Learned InDesign and also a little bit of After Effects. So they're whole other worlds. So if anybody ever told you they were 100% proficient in any and knew everything about any program, you might as well just dump them to the curb, because you'll never actually get to the end of creativity. And I think, to me, that is awesome because it never gets boring. There's always something to learn. There's always some cool new skill, a new fad, a new trend that you're like learning, and you're like, oh my God, how'd they do that with the camera? And so even if I learned the skill and was excellent then, something new comes out in technology and you're back to square one. So I think that's so much fun, and it keeps you humble, going like, yeah, I've spent 15 years in this, but there's infinite amount of things I could learn, and the goal is just to be a good learner, and just show people what you're learning. So 15 years, but it's going to keep going from there. If I could hire one person to help me with my mission, this is something I am going to miss being in the military, is that there's always somebody that is telling you the next step. And I really like that. Like, yes, I'm an NCO, I tell people the next step, but there's always somebody higher that you don't know, somewhere in some office, making the plan of where to go. So that's something I could really use, because I'm so ADHD and I'm creative, that it's just like a pinball machine. And if there was somebody to have those little brackets, like sitting there like, come on, Cameron, stay in your lane, like that would be actually so beneficial to me. And just kind of keep the reins on, like, hey, your 3 o'clock is here, your next design project's here, hey, this person has scheduled a branding meeting with you, keeping me on a schedule. I'm very schedule oriented, but I am also all over the place. So that would be super helpful in the future. So if I lost everything and just had the knowledge of what I've learned and could just do it over to where I would avoid these costly mistakes, I would have been less hesitant to collaborations. So the way business, was done, and Jordan Fremgen spoke on this, and he hit the nail on the head in episode 1, is that he said that it used to be, I'm trying to beat everybody else in my space. Like, if you're in my space, I'm going to get your customer, because if not, you're going to take mine, and then I'm starving to death and I won't be able to eat. But now it's more about the customer experience. It's more about them trusting you. And while everybody's over here cutting each other's throats and stabbing each other in the back and undercutting everybody on prices and making $0 and also losing the trust of the customer, you're over here confident in your skills to go, hey, me and this person are going to work together to get you exactly what you need. Because again, like Jordan said, is like, this person may be really great at video and they're the ones who got the job, but then they also know there's a graphic design aspect, and you're the graphic designer and they trust you. And because you guys are working together, now you get to show yourself as a powerhouse, like a creative group almost. So that's something I would have been way less hesitant to do in the beginning. And that's just how business goes now. And so I would have saved myself a lot of time and a lot of heartache and a lot of headache if I would have done that at the beginning. Yeah.